Rasheeda finally did it. After months, no. Years of tension simmering beneath the surface. The queen of love and hip-hop, Atlanta finally confronted her longtime husband, Kirk Frost, on camera. And when I tell you this moment had everyone talking, I mean everyone. Fans are calling it the most explosive moment in the show's history. And even crew members reportedly had to step in to calm things down. What started as a seemingly calm sit-down between two people trying to work things out quickly spiraled into a full-blown emotional showdown that no one could have predicted. It all went down during what was supposed to be a private, off-the-record moment at the couple's boutique, Pressed. Cameras were rolling for a special Life After Love and Hip-Hop segment, and the energy was thick. Rasheeda walked in with that signature boss, stride heels clicking, head held high. Every ounce of that southern poise, hiding a storm brewing underneath. Kirk, sitting across the table with his trademark poker face, looked like he was ready for just another business talk. But little did he know, Rasheeda wasn't there to talk business, she was there to talk betrayal. Word on the street is, Rasheeda had received some new information, something that made her question everything about their rocky past. And this time, she wasn't about to let him slide. The whispers, the receipts, the late-night phone calls, everything came to a boiling point right then and there. And fans who were lucky enough to catch a leaked clip say it was painfully real. The tension, the tears, the accusations, nothing felt scripted. "You've embarrassed me for the last time," Rasheeda reportedly said, her voice trembling but fierce. And that's when Kirk's calm mask started to crack. He tried to explain, tried to justify, but she wasn't having it. The moment she slammed her hand on that glass table, even the camera crew froze. "Nah, Kirk. Not this time. You're gonna tell the truth on camera?" Within minutes, the boutique that usually echoes with the sounds of laughter and customers shopping became a battlefield of emotions. Fans who've followed their journey from day one know this isn't the first time Rasheeda and Kirk have faced turbulence. But something about this confrontation felt final, like the end of an era. Social media exploded within hours of the footage leaking. Hashtags like hashtag #RASHEEDA confronts Kirk, hashtag FrostDrama, and hashtag Team RASHEEDA were trending across platforms. People were picking sides, analyzing every frame, every facial expression, every word. And the real kicker, sources close to the couple claimed there's more to the story, much more. Something that could change the way fans see their relationship forever. Rumors suggest Rasheeda came armed with undeniable proof of a new betrayal. And that's what pushed her to finally confront him on camera. Was it another woman? Money gone missing? A business deal gone wrong? Nobody knows for sure. But one thing's certain, this wasn't just another reality TV spat. This was raw emotion. Years of pain, love, and betrayal erupting all at once. So what really went down that day between Rasheeda and Kirk Frost? Why did Rasheeda decide to air it all out in front of the cameras? And how did their friends, family, and even their castmates react when the truth started unraveling? Stay tuned, because we're breaking down the entire explosive confrontation from the first word to the last tear. You won't believe how it ends. Camera lights flickered across the boutique's polished glass tables as the tension between Rasheeda and Kirk Frost thickened into something almost visible in the air. The crew could sense it. No one spoke above a whisper. Everyone knew this wasn't just another scene, this was the moment. Rasheeda stood there, dressed to kill, her eyes fixed on Kirk like she could see straight through him. The silence before the storm was deafening. Kirk shifted in his seat, his hands fidgeting with the edge of a folder he'd brought with him, business papers, contracts, excuses maybe, but Rasheeda didn't even glance at them. She was focused, angry, hurt, and fans would later say they'd never seen her like this before. "So that's it," she began, her voice steady but heavy with everything she'd been holding back. "You just thought I wouldn't find out." Kirk tried to play it cool. He leaned back, giving that little shrug he always did when he wanted to seem find out what you always jumping to conclusions? But this time Rasheeda wasn't jumping. She was standing on solid ground, with receipts, literal receipts. She pulled her phone out, unlocked it, and slid it across the table toward him. The screen lit up with messages, photos, timestamps. Kirk's face changed instantly. Gone was the confidence. Gone was the smooth talk. He knew what was on that phone. "You want to explain this?" she asked, her tone sharp enough to cut glass. Kirk glanced at the crew, hoping maybe someone would step in, call a break, but nobody moved. They knew better than to interrupt. The messages told a story Kirk didn't want told. There were texts between him and someone fans didn't recognize, late-night calls, money transfers, cryptic emojis that spoke louder than words. Rasheeda's hands trembled as she pointed to the screen. "You told me it was over," she said quietly. "You looked me in my face and said there was nothing left to hide." Kirk's jaw tightened. Sheeda, it's not what it looks like, he muttered. But Rasheeda laughed a cold, bitter laugh that echoed through the room. That's the problem, Kirk. It's always not what it looks like, until it's exactly what it looks like. Behind the cameras, producers exchanged nervous glances. They'd seen fights before, sure, but this one felt different. Raw. Too real. One of the producers whispered into his headset, "Keep rolling," because they knew this was going to blow up. Social media would eat this alive. As Kirk tried to form another excuse, Rasheeda stood up. "No, Kirk, I'm done hearing your explanations. I've heard them all. Every single time, it's the same story. You mess up, you say sorry, you promise to do better, and then we end up right back here." She took a deep breath, and her voice cracked just slightly, revealing the pain beneath the fury. "Do you know what it's like to defend you to the world? To look stupid over and over again while everybody laughs at me?" Kirk's eyes darted to the door, maybe thinking about leaving. Maybe thinking about how this footage was going to destroy his image again, but Rasheeda wasn't letting him go this time. "You don't get to walk away, Kirk. Not this time. You're gonna sit there and listen? Because I'm tired of pretending like I'm not hurt." The atmosphere was thick with emotion. Fans later described watching the leaked clip and feeling like they were intruding on something too personal, but that's what made it so powerful. This was reality television stripped of glamour, showing raw heartbreak. Then came the bombshell. Rasheeda pulled another piece of paper from her bank statement. Kirk's name. Withdrawals. Large sums of money gone without explanation. "You've been moving money, Kirk? Thousands? From our joint account. Care to explain where it went?" she demanded. Kirk hesitated. "It's business expenses," he mumbled. "You wouldn't understand." Rasheeda slammed the paper down. "Don't you dare play me like that. I run businesses too. I know every dollar that moves through this family. So where did it go?" The camera zoomed in on Kirk's face, and for the first time, he looked cornered. "It's not like that," he said again, his voice low. "It's for something personal." Rasheeda's eyes narrowed. "Something personal? Like another woman?" The question hung in the air like a live wire. Kirk's silence was all the answer she needed. The crew froze. One camera operator whispered, "Oh my God." Rasheeda's breathing grew heavier. She stepped closer, her voice trembling but fierce. "I knew it. I knew you were still lying to me." Kirk rubbed his forehead, muttering, "Sheeda, please, don't do this here." But Rasheeda was already doing it. She wasn't backing down. "Not this time. You think I care about cameras right now? I'm done protecting your image. I'm done being quiet." As her voice broke, tears welled in her eyes. "I built you up. I stood beside you when everyone said I should have left. And this is how you repay me." Kirk tried to reach out, but she stepped back. "Don't touch me." Her voice cracked but stayed strong. Somewhere in the background, someone dropped a clipboard, startling everyone. The sound seemed to snap Kirk out of his silence. "Look, I messed up. All right," he finally said, "but it's not what you think. She needed help. I was just Rasheeda." Cut him off. "Help? You think moving thousands out of our account behind my back is helping someone? Who is she? Kirk, tell me her name." But Kirk wouldn't answer. Instead, he looked down, his silence speaking volumes. Rasheeda stared at him, the weight of years pressing on her chest. "You can't even say her name," she whispered. The cameras caught every flicker of emotion, anger, sadness, disbelief. Rasheeda sat back down, her energy shifting from rage to heartbreak. "You keep doing this," she said softly. "You keep breaking us, and somehow, I keep finding reasons to forgive you, but I don't think I have any left." Kirk leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. "I love you, Rasheeda." She shook her head. "No. You love the idea of me forgiving you. That's what you love." Fans watching the leaked footage later said they felt chills. Some cried. Others were furious. The said they felt chills. Some cried. Others were furious. The internet erupted. #standby RASHEEDA began trending, with fans flooding her page with support and heartbreak emojis. Meanwhile, Kirk's comment sections were flooded with outrage. As the confrontation continued, Kirk's phone buzzed on the table. The sound broke the silence again. Rasheeda's eyes darted to it. "Go ahead," she said. "Answer it." Kirk froze. "It's nothing." Rasheeda grabbed the phone before he could. She looked at the screen and, whatever she saw, made her expression change completely. "Oh my God," she muttered. "So she's calling you now? Right now, while we're doing this?" Kirk tried to grab the phone, but Rasheeda pulled it back. "Don't you dare." The name flashing on the screen wasn't one fans recognized, but it didn't matter. The implication was clear. This was no coincidence. Rasheeda tossed the phone down like it burned her. "You couldn't even hide it for one day," she said. You couldn't give me one moment of honesty." Kirk ran a hand over his face, visibly frustrated. "You think I planned that? Come on, Rasheeda, this is getting blown out of proportion." But there was no calming her down now. "Blown out of proportion? This is our marriage, Kirk. This is our life. You think because we're on TV, you can just play me like I'm a storyline? I'm a real woman, with real feelings. And I'm done being your plot twist." The weight of her words hit him hard. Kirk sat back, silent, knowing anything he said would only make it worse. Rasheeda wiped her tears, straightened her posture, and looked straight into the nearest camera. "You want to know the truth?" she said. "This right here. This is what it looks like when a woman finally gets tired." The crew stayed silent, the cameras still rolling, capturing a moment that would go viral within hours. Outside, the world kept spinning, but inside that boutique, time felt frozen. Kirk's shoulders slumped. Rasheeda stared down at the table, her reflection in the glass a reminder of everything she'd fought for and everything she might be about to lose. The quiet stretched on until Kirk finally spoke again, his voice softer now. "I didn't mean to hurt you." Rasheeda didn't look up. "You always say that," she whispered. "But you always do." And then, without another word, she stood up, grabbed her purse, and walked toward the door. Kirk called after her, "Rasheeda, please, can we talk?" But she didn't turn around. The sound of the door opening echoed through the boutique, followed by the soft click of it closing. Kirk sat there alone, the phone still buzzing on the table, the cameras still capturing every second. Outside, Rasheeda took a deep breath, the cool Atlanta air hitting her face. She looked down the street, eyes glistening, heart pounding. For the first time, she didn't know if she was walking away for a moment or for good. And that's where everything changed. What happened next would send shockwaves through their world, pulling friends, family, and castmates straight into the fallout of this confrontation. What no one knew yet was that the fight inside the boutique was just the beginning. Kirk sat, alone in the boutique, the silence almost deafening, broken only by the faint hum of the air conditioner and the occasional creak of the floorboards. He ran a hand through his hair, his mind racing faster than any apology could keep up with. Rasheeda's words still echoed in his ears, each one like a hammer striking against the walls he'd built around himself. "You always do," she had said, and that sting was sharper than anything else he'd felt in years. He knew she was right. He had a pattern, a cycle, and tonight it had all unraveled on camera for the world to see. The phone on the table buzzed again. Kirk ignored it, knowing answering would only make things worse. Yet, curiosity gnawed at him. The caller ID flashed a name that made his stomach twist, a name that should never appear at a time like this. He picked it up reluctantly. "Hello." His voice was subdued, almost defeated. On the other end, a familiar voice whispered, "Did you see her face?" Kirk swallowed hard, glancing at the camera lens pointed at him. Yeah, she saw everything." The voice chuckled softly. "Good, now, let's see how this plays out." Kirk's heart pounded. What he didn't realize was that this call was only the beginning of the twisted web he'd woven himself into. Meanwhile, outside the boutique, Rasheeda leaned against the sleek glass door, trying to steady her breathing. Her mind raced through years of betrayal, disappointment, and moments when she had chosen to forgive Kirk, hoping he would finally change. The fans didn't know the whole story, only glimpses, but Rasheeda felt like the weight of it all was finally catching up. She dialed her sister Keshia, her voice shaking. "Kesh, I can't. It's too much tonight," she whispered. Keshia's voice came through immediately, calm, yet filled with concern. "Breathe, sis. Whatever happens, you're standing up for yourself. That's what matters." Rasheeda nodded, though she knew Keshia couldn't see her. Her reflection, in the glass, showed a woman transformed by anger and heartbreak, someone who was no longer willing to be quiet. Back inside, Kirk had moved to the couch, running his hands over his face repeatedly. He glanced at the camera crew, who were frozen, sensing the storm had not yet passed. "Look, I messed up," he muttered again, but even he sounded hollow. The words had lost meaning in the wake of Rasheeda's evidence. The emotional weight she carried, and the raw exposure of the cameras capturing every flinch, every reaction. Producers later admitted they had never seen Kirk like this, vulnerable, exposed, human in a way that reality television rarely allows. The door opened again, and a mutual friend, Tamika, stepped in, looking shocked at the tension. What's going on here?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Rasheeda turned to her, eyes blazing. "I'm done protecting him," she said. "I'm done protecting myself from the embarrassment of loving someone who keeps lying to me." Tamika froze, glancing at Kirk, then back at Rasheeda. But this is huge, she stammered. You can't just this, on camera. Rasheeda's stare softened slightly at her friend's concern. It's already out there, Tamika, I'm not hiding anymore. If people see this, they see the truth. That's all. The tension escalated when Kirk finally raised his voice, frustration breaking through his defeated posture. You think this is easy for me? He shouted. You think I wanted this? You think I like seeing us like this? Rasheeda's eyes flared. Then why do you keep doing it, Kirk? Why keep pushing me to this breaking point? Kirk opened his mouth, but no words came. The cameras caught every subtle tremor, every hesitation. He looked like a man cornered by his own mistakes, trapped in a narrative he couldn't rewrite. The fight intensified as Rasheeda recounted moments from their past, each one more painful than the last. Do you remember that night? She asked, her voice low but cutting. The night you promised me forever, then went behind my back again. Kirk flinched, his eyes flicking toward the floor. He could feel the sting of truth in her words, the truth he had tried desperately to hide. I made a mistake, he admitted, voice barely audible. A mistake. Kirk, this isn't a mistake. This is a pattern. She shot back, slamming her hand against the glass table. A pattern you don't seem willing to break. The crew held their breath as emotions reached a peak. Producers later admitted they had to move quietly to ensure no one got physically hurt. As the argument grew more intense, the room felt small, the air heavy, the history between them palpable. Kirk tried one last attempt at explanation. Sheeda, listen, it wasn't what it looked like, he pleaded, but Rasheeda's eyes burned with fury. Stop saying that, I've heard it 1,000 times. I see it, I live it. Then came an unexpected twist. A notification popped up on Kirk's tablet, and when he glanced at it, his face went pale. A new message, one that implicated him further, had arrived. Rasheeda's eyes followed his gaze. What is it now? She demanded. Kirk hesitated. It's nothing, he stammered, but Rasheeda wasn't buying it. She grabbed the tablet from him and saw the message. Her face turned from fury to complete disbelief. The camera zoomed in as she read the words, her mouth falling open slightly. You couldn't even keep your lies consistent, she whispered. Kirk looked like he had been hit, his body slumping. Emotions ran high as Rasheeda started pacing. She recounted everything from the money missing, the late-night texts, to the new information she had unearthed. I trusted you, Kirk. I believed in us, she said, voice cracking but strong. And every single time, you give me a reason not to. Kirk finally stood, moving toward her, but she stepped back. Don't, she warned, shaking her head. Not now, not ever. Outside the boutique, fans were already reacting to leaked clips, social media buzzing with speculation and emotion. Hashtag Team Rasheeda trended within hours, with supporters praising her bravery and raw honesty. Hashtag Kirkfrost became a magnet for outrage, fans debating every word, every glance, every action caught on tape. It was the kind of spectacle reality TV producers dream about, but in that moment, it was more than entertainment. It was a real-life unraveling of love, trust, and betrayal. As Kirk and Rasheeda continued, the argument took another shocking turn. Kirk revealed information about his own family, details Rasheeda had never known, adding layers of complexity to the confrontation. I'm not just fighting with you, Sheeda, he said, tears forming in his eyes. I'm fighting with everyone around us. It's not just about us. Rasheeda's eyes widened. You expect me to forgive that? To understand, she asked, voice quivering. I can't even comprehend it right now. For hours, the confrontation unfolded with each revelation, each confession, and each accusation peeling back layers of their marriage. The boutique, once a place of business and laughter, became an arena of emotional warfare, a battleground where love, trust, and loyalty were questioned. Kirk's attempts to explain, justify, and plead met Rasheeda's unwavering determination to confront, expose, and reclaim her dignity. By the end of the night, both were emotionally drained, yet the confrontation was far from over. Producers knew this footage would be historic, fans would dissect every frame, and the aftermath would affect relationships far beyond what anyone could predict. Rasheeda walked away that night knowing she had taken control, but also realizing that the journey toward healing or total destruction was only beginning. And as the cameras finally stopped rolling, the boutique remained silent, the echoes of their confrontation lingering in every corner, a stark reminder that some truths, once exposed, could never be hidden again. The morning after the explosive confrontation, the boutique felt almost eerie in its silence. Kirk sat on the same couch, staring blankly at the papers still scattered across the table. Replaying every word Rasheeda had said the night before, the weight of exposure, humiliation, and the undeniable truth pressed down on him harder than he had expected. He thought he could manage, that he could navigate the fallout with a few explanations and rehearsed apologies. But watching the footage alone this morning changed everything. Rasheeda's words echoed in his mind, each one like a blade cutting through the excuses he had clung to. Outside, Rasheeda walked through the Atlanta streets, her heels clicking against the pavement, a rhythm that matched the rapid beat of her heart. The city seemed to watch her, each passerby unknowingly a witness to her silent declaration of independence. She called her best friend Kim, who had been waiting anxiously for updates. "Kim, you have no idea what happened," Rasheeda said, her voice still shaking. "It was everything. All at once. And I didn't even hold back." Kim gasped softly on the other end. "Sis, you're incredible. I can't believe you stood up like that." Rasheeda allowed herself a small smile, though it was tinged with sadness. She knew standing up for herself was just the first step. The real battle, the one that would challenge loyalties and emotions, was yet to unfold. Back at the boutique, Kirk's phone buzzed relentlessly. Messages and calls flooded in from family, friends, and even fans. Some were supportive, others accusatory, and a few downright hostile. He tried to ignore them, but curiosity and dread kept pulling him back. Finally, he answered one call, a family member on the line. "Kirk, we saw it," the voice said gently. "We're worried. This isn't just drama anymore. You need to fix this." Kirk ran a hand over his face, frustration and guilt mingling. "I know. I don't know where to start," he admitted. The family member sighed. "Start with honesty, Kirk. Nothing else will matter now." As the day progressed, Rasheeda returned to her home, which felt unusually quiet without Kirk. She sat down, scrolling through social media, and the reactions were overwhelming. Fans were torn between outrage and admiration, flooding her pages with messages of support. Hashtag Team Rasheeda trended again, while hashtag Kirk Frost faced waves of criticism. The numbers and comments didn't matter as much to Rasheeda as the validation. She felt finally the world was seeing her truth, her courage. Yet, beneath the surface, a storm of doubt lingered. She loved Kirk, loved their family, but could she trust him again after everything? The next confrontation came unexpectedly. Kirk arrived at her home, determined to explain, to plead, to salvage whatever remained. Rasheeda met him at the door, her stance firm, yet her eyes betrayed a mixture of longing and wariness. "Sheeda, I need to talk," Kirk said, voice desperate. "Please, just give me a chance to explain." Rasheeda crossed her arms, shaking her head slightly. "Kirk, I listened yesterday. I heard every word. Do you think one explanation will change that?" Kirk swallowed hard, searching for the right words. "It's not just one explanation. It's everything I've been hiding, trying to fix it in ways you couldn't see." Rasheeda narrowed her eyes. "Then start talking." The conversation spiraled, raw and unfiltered. As Kirk confessed details he had never shared, financial mistakes, misunderstood intentions, and moments of weakness that led to the chaos. Rasheeda listened, alternating between anger and empathy, processing each revelation with painstaking care. "You think telling me now will erase the pain?" she asked quietly, tears threatening. Kirk's voice trembled. "I'm asking for forgiveness. Not to erase, but to rebuild." Friends and family soon became involved, each offering their perspective, often fueling the tension. Tamika returned, insisting on mediation, while other mutual friends weighed in with advice, gossip, and caution. The living room of Rasheeda's home transformed into a war room of emotions and strategy. The cameras, ever present, caught every tense glance, every hesitant gesture, and every tearful confession. A shocking twist came when Kirk's brother unexpectedly arrived, revealing information that shifted the narrative yet again. He disclosed that some of the financial discrepancies had external causes beyond Kirk's immediate control, complicating the story and giving Rasheeda a momentary pause. She realized the situation wasn't as black and white as she had imagined, and the gray areas only added to her internal conflict. She felt betrayed, yet also understood the pressures Kirk had been under, pressures she had never fully acknowledged. The tension between them remained electric. Rasheeda and Kirk moved from anger to negotiation, from accusations to tentative understanding. Yet every step forward was punctuated by emotional landmines. One wrong word, one misinterpreted glance, and the fragile balance would shatter. Each of them knew this confrontation wasn't just for the cameras, it was the defining moment of their relationship, one that would determine whether their marriage survived or disintegrated entirely. Later that evening, Rasheeda confronted Kirk about loyalty and respect, asking questions he could barely answer. "Kirk, when I asked for honesty, did you even know what that meant?" she demanded. Kirk looked down, struggling. I thought I did, but maybe I didn't fully understand until now." Rasheeda's expression softened for just a brief second, the fleeting moment of vulnerability showing that despite the turmoil, love and history still lingered, but she quickly recovered, reminding him that love without trust was empty. And actions would speak louder than words from this point forward. As night fell, both retreated to separate rooms, physically close but emotionally distant. The boutique, the home, the city, they all seemed to hold their collective breath. Fans followed every update, dissecting each clip, analyzing every comment, and speculating about the future. The story wasn't just unfolding, it was detonating across social media, igniting debates, fan theories, and intense discussions that blurred the lines between entertainment and reality. Unknown to both, a hidden ally had been watching silently, ready to intervene at the perfect moment, tipping the scales in ways neither Rasheeda nor Kirk could foresee. This third party's intentions were unclear, but their influence would soon escalate the drama to unprecedented levels. Alliances would be tested, secrets would surface, and the fight that started with anger and betrayal would evolve into a high-stakes emotional roller coaster. The night ended with Rasheeda lying awake, reflecting on every word, every glance, every betrayal, and every moment of vulnerability shared that day. Kirk did the same in the other room, replaying mistakes and imagining possibilities for redemption. Both were aware of the storm brewing inside their marriage, among their family, and within the ever-watchful eyes of fans. One thing was certain, the confrontation was far from over, and what had begun as a fight was rapidly transforming into a saga that would define not just their relationship, but the legacy they left in the public eye. And as the city slept, the quiet anticipation was almost unbearable. Everyone, family, friends, fans waited for the next move, the next revelation, and the next emotional explosion. The pieces were in place, the tension at its peak, and neither Rasheeda nor Kirk could predict what would happen when the next chapter of this dramatic saga unfolded. The following morning brought no relief. The sunlight streamed through Rasheeda's windows, illuminating the remnants of the previous night's chaos, papers scattered, cups left half full, and a lingering tension that felt almost tangible. She sat at her kitchen table, scrolling through the countless messages, posts, and videos that had already gone viral. Fans had dissected every detail, her expressions, Kirk's reactions, the subtle body language, and even the tone of their voices. Hashtags had multiplied overnight. Hashtag RASHEEDA exposed. Hashtag Kirk Frost lies. Hashtag Famila Draymond. Social media was ablaze with opinions, theories, and moral judgments. She sipped her coffee slowly, the bitterness matching the turmoil in her chest. Knowing the storm was far from over, Kirk, on the other hand, remained holed up in the boutique, pacing like a caged animal. He could feel the weight of public scrutiny pressing on him, intensifying with every notification. Family members had called, demanding explanations. Friends were divided, some advising him to apologize again, others warning that Rasheeda had reached a point of no return. Every call seemed to worsen his anxiety, yet he couldn't pull himself away. He stared at his reflection in the boutique window, seeing a man caught in the consequences of his own choices, wondering if the damage could ever be repaired. Just as Kirk was spiraling inward, Rasheeda arrived at the boutique unannounced. The sudden appearance startled him, sending a jolt of adrenaline through his system. She walked in with a quiet determination, her heels echoing against the floor, eyes locked on him. "We need to talk," she said simply. Kirk swallowed hard, attempting a casual tone he knew she wouldn't buy. "Sheeda, I wasn't expecting you back so soon." She folded her arms. "You never expect anything, Kirk. That's the problem." The confrontation reignited instantly, emotions flaring hotter than before. Rasheeda didn't waste time revisiting the old wounds. Instead, she presented new evidence: emails, photos, and receipts Kirk had overlooked or assumed she wouldn't find. Her voice was steady, unwavering, a testament to the strength she had drawn from the previous night's ordeal. "You think you can charm your way out of this?" she demanded. "Do you really believe I'll ignore this evidence?" Kirk's defenses faltered. He could feel the walls closing in, the facade he'd maintained for years crumbling before her piercing gaze. Mid-confrontation, a surprise visitor arrived: Kirk's cousin, Terrence, who had been rumored to be aware of some of Kirk's dealings. He stepped cautiously into the boutique, sensing the tension immediately. "I think I need to say something," Terrence began, voice hesitant but firm. Rasheeda's eyes narrowed. "Go ahead," she said, though she remained alert. Terrence revealed financial irregularities, partnerships gone wrong, and even subtle manipulations that Kirk hadn't confessed. The revelation added a new layer to the confrontation, further complicating Kirk's attempts to justify himself. The argument escalated with each revelation. Rasheeda's frustration morphed into fury, her voice sharp and commanding. "You've lied, manipulated, and hidden things from me for too long." Kirk attempted to interject, but she cut him off mid. "No, not this time. I've heard enough excuses." The cameras rolled silently, capturing every tremor of fear, every flicker of guilt, and every tear threatening to escape. Producers later admitted that the raw intensity in that room was unparalleled. They had never witnessed a confrontation that combined betrayal, emotional vulnerability, and family interference so perfectly. Amid the chaos, Kirk tried to appeal to shared memories, moments of love and commitment, hoping to reconnect. "Sheeda, remember when we started this journey together?" he asked, voice trembling. Rasheeda shook her head, the memory almost painful. "I remember, Kirk. I remember exactly how it felt to believe in you," she said softly, "and how it feels now to see that belief shattered." Her words hung in the air, heavy with sorrow and accusation. Kirk's throat tightened. He had no words that could bridge the gap, no apology that could undo the damage already done. Then came a shocking twist. A voicemail Kirk had forgotten about played through the boutique's speaker. It was a message from an unknown number, implicating him in a scheme that Rasheeda had never imagined. Her eyes widened as she listened, disbelief and anger overtaking her features. "So this is why," she muttered. "All this time, you've been lying, and hiding more than I could have known." Kirk's face paled, realizing the situation had escalated beyond his control. He could feel the walls of his carefully constructed world crumbling. Family members joined remotely through video calls, each adding more pressure and revealing further details about Kirk's actions. Friends debated who was in the right, who was in the wrong, and what the consequences should be. The emotional intensity reached a fever pitch, with Rasheeda standing firm, demanding accountability, while Kirk floundered, grasping for explanations that seemed increasingly hollow. Hours passed, the confrontation morphing into a marathon of truth-telling, accusation, and negotiation. Rasheeda alternated between rage and moments of vulnerability, confronting Kirk about past infidelities, financial deceit, and emotional neglect. Kirk responded with half-truths, defenses, and fleeting admissions, creating a dynamic of constant tension. Every time Rasheeda presented new evidence, Kirk's composure cracked further, the cameras catching every micro-expression. A dramatic turning point occurred when Rasheeda threatened to go public with all the documents, evidence, and recordings she had gathered. "If this is the only way for you to understand the gravity of your actions, then so be it," she declared. Kirk froze, realizing that his private manipulations could now be broadcast to a global audience. The stakes had shifted, and the confrontation had moved beyond personal reconciliation into full-blown public accountability. As the night drew on, both were emotionally exhausted, yet neither willing to surrender entirely. The tension lingered like a storm cloud, heavy and unpredictable. Producers decided to cut for a brief pause, but the energy in the room promised that the confrontation was far from finished. Both Rasheeda and Kirk knew that the fallout from this encounter would ripple through their family, friends, and fan base, altering perceptions and alliances in ways that could not be undone. And as the cameras stopped rolling temporarily, both reflected silently on the magnitude of the events. Rasheeda recognized the strength she had found in her confrontation, while Kirk grappled with the enormity of his choices. The night ended with an uneasy truce, neither victorious, neither defeated, but both aware that the next chapter would challenge them more than anything before. The battle was far from over, and the drama, secrets, and revelations were only beginning to unfold, setting the stage for even more shocking developments in the days to come. The next morning brought a tense, almost unbearable silence over Atlanta. Word of Rasheeda and Kirk's confrontation had leaked further, with snippets circulating on social media that fans dissected endlessly. Trending topics spanned from hashtag #RASHEEDA unfiltered to hashtag Kirk exposed, and news outlets picked up the story, spinning it into click-worthy headlines that made the confrontation feel larger than life. Rasheeda, sitting at her vanity, scrolled through the coverage, her expression unreadable. There were messages of support, anger, and curiosity from fans worldwide. She sighed, realizing that the private battle she fought the night before had become public spectacle, and yet she felt strangely empowered. For the first time in years, she had reclaimed control. Kirk, however, was in turmoil. He paced his home, phone in hand, fielding calls from friends, family, and even business associates. Some offered sympathy, others delivered pointed criticism. Each ring felt like another hammer striking at his already fragile ego. He replayed Rasheeda's words from the boutique, trying to formulate the perfect explanation, the perfect apology, the perfect step toward redemption, but he knew that the simplicity of "I'm sorry" couldn't erase the depth of the betrayal she had uncovered. The weight of public scrutiny pressed on him like a vice. By mid-afternoon, Rasheeda decided to take action. She called her sister Kishia and close friend Kim, convening an emergency meeting at her home. The mood was serious. Emotions ran high. "I need clarity," Rasheeda said, sitting between them on the couch, her fingers tapping nervously. "Everything Kirk said. Everything I found. I need to know what's real and what's manipulation. I can't do this alone anymore." Keshia placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've never been alone, sis. We're here. Whatever comes next, you face it with your head high." Kim nodded. "And the world is watching, Rasheeda. It's brutal, but it's also your moment to take control." Meanwhile, Kirk was unaware that a video crew had arrived at Rasheeda's home to capture the next chapter of their unfolding saga. Producers sensed the public's insatiable appetite for drama and knew that the confrontation had only just begun. Kirk's cousin Terrence appeared again, this time on camera, revealing new details about financial discrepancies and even questionable business dealings that implicated Kirk further. The room buzzed with tension as Rasheeda listened, her eyes narrowing with each revelation. "You mean to tell me he's been hiding this all this time?" she demanded, voice sharp with disbelief. Terrence nodded gravely. "It's worse than you think. He didn't just lie, he misled everyone around him." Kirk finally arrived at Rasheeda's home, attempting to reconcile, though his body language betrayed hesitation and fear. "Sheeda, please, I need a chance to explain," he said, voice cracking. Rasheeda stood her ground. "Kirk, explanations won't fix the betrayal. Actions do. And your actions have left me standing here questioning everything." Kirk's hands trembled. "I'm asking for forgiveness. I've never wanted to hurt you. Never." Rasheeda shook her head. "Then why do you keep doing it?" The cameras captured every heartbeat of the room, the intensity. Almost unbearable for those watching at home. The confrontation escalated as more family members joined remotely via video calls. Opinions clashed, tensions flared, and the history of Rasheeda and Kirk's marriage was dissected under a public microscope. Friends debated the morality of Kirk's actions, the legitimacy of Rasheeda's anger, and the consequences that should follow. The dialogue was raw, emotional, and at times, explosive. Producers struggled to keep the cameras steady, capturing every flinch, every tear, and every tremor in voice that hinted at deeper emotions lurking beneath the surface. Amid the chaos, Rasheeda revealed new evidence: emails, texts, and photos that detailed undisclosed relationships and financial movements. The revelation was staggering, leaving Kirk momentarily speechless. "You couldn't even keep your lies straight," she said quietly, almost to herself. "Every time I thought I understood, there was more. More deception, more betrayal." Kirk slumped, realizing the scope of the truth she had uncovered. Every excuse, every half-truth he had clung to suddenly seemed worthless. Then, an unexpected twist. Kirk's phone buzzed with a notification that further complicated the narrative. A message from an unknown contact implied deeper schemes, secret alliances, and hidden motives. Rasheeda seized the phone and read the message aloud, her face a mixture of shock and fury. "So this is the real story?" she asked. Kirk's lips parted, searching for words that wouldn't come. The room seemed to freeze, the gravity of the moment weighing heavily on everyone present. As the evening approached, the intensity of the confrontation showed no signs of relenting. Rasheeda demanded accountability not only from Kirk but also from the extended network of friends and family who had unknowingly or knowingly contributed to the chaos. Kirk attempted to justify his actions, but Rasheeda's sharp eye and unwavering resolve cut through every excuse. The cameras captured moments of vulnerability, of anger, and fleeting traces of regret. Producers later admitted that the dynamic energy in the room was unlike anything they had witnessed before, a mix of raw emotion, strategic maneuvering, and unpredictable revelation. Finally, after hours of emotional back and forth, the conversation reached a tense pause. Rasheeda retreated to her bedroom, closing the door behind her, while Kirk remained in the living room, staring at the floor, contemplating the enormity of the situation. Both were exhausted, yet neither could ignore the simmering storm of emotions and unresolved questions that remained. The night was far from over. In fact, it had only set the stage for even more dramatic developments. Alliances tested, and secrets revealed in the days to come. Fans, meanwhile, stayed glued to every update, dissecting clips, comments, and rumors. The story of Rasheeda and Kirk had transcended entertainment. It had become a cultural moment, a lens through which viewers explored love, betrayal, and the complexity of public and private lives colliding. The world was watching, and Rasheeda and Kirk's every move would continue to captivate, shock, and inspire debate. And as Atlanta slept under the quiet night sky, the boutique, the home, and the hearts of Rasheeda and Kirk were still charged with electricity, ready to erupt again at the next revelation, the next confrontation, and the next dramatic twist that would leave fans begging for answers and craving the next chapter of this explosive saga. The following morning, tension hung thick in the air, like a storm about to break. Rasheeda awoke with a restless energy, her mind replaying every heated word, every tearful admission, and every subtle betrayal that had unfolded over the past 48 hours. The city outside her window felt oblivious to the emotional hurricane that had consumed her life. Yet social media told a very different story. Clips of her confrontation with Kirk had gone viral overnight, with hashtags trending globally. Fans were polarized, some applauded her bravery, others criticized her for exposing private matters to the public. Rasheeda scrolled through the endless comments, her expression a careful mask of composure, but inside, emotions churned like a relentless tide. Kirk, meanwhile, had secluded himself in his home office, attempting to process the fallout. Messages from family, friends, and even business associates bombarded him relentlessly. Each notification felt like a reminder of his failures, a confirmation of the bridge he had burned. He rubbed his face with his hands, trying to formulate explanations, apologies, and solutions. But the tangled web of lies, secrets, and public scrutiny made clarity almost impossible. The confrontation had exposed more than just infidelity. It had unveiled a pattern of behavior, a history of manipulation that even he could no longer neatly justify. By mid-afternoon, Rasheeda decided that the only way to regain control was to confront Kirk again. She summoned her sister Kashia and her friend Kim to strategize, preparing mentally for the next phase of this emotional war. "We need a plan," Rasheeda said, her voice calm but firm. "Everything Kirk says now, everything he does, will determine whether there's a path forward or whether it ends here." Kashia nodded, supportive yet wary. "Sis, you've already taken control. Whatever happens next, make sure it's on your terms." Kim added, "Remember, the cameras are rolling, the world is watching, but this isn't about them, it's about you." Later that day, Kirk arrived at Rasheeda's home, visibly tense, attempting to repair the fractured connection. "Sheeda, please, we need to talk," he said, voice low and unsteady. Rasheeda met him at the door, standing her ground. "Kirk, I listened yesterday. I heard everything. Words aren't enough anymore," she replied, her tone sharp, her eyes unwavering. Kirk swallowed, trying to find the right words, the right balance between explanation and apology. "I know, I've made mistakes, but I want to make it right. I can't change the past, but I can show you the truth." Rasheeda's gaze pierced him, unrelenting. "The truth? You've been hiding the truth for years. Now it's on camera, and the world has already seen it." The confrontation quickly intensified as Kirk tried to justify actions, while Rasheeda countered with evidence she had meticulously gathered. Emails, texts, photos, and financial documents all pointed to a larger narrative of betrayal and deception. The room became a battlefield of words and emotion, with each revelation adding layers of complexity to an already volatile situation. Kirk's frustration mounted as he realized that the defenses he had relied upon for years were crumbling under the weight of indisputable evidence. Unexpectedly, Kirk's cousin Terrence entered the scene, adding fuel to the fire. He brought with him insider knowledge of Kirk's dealings, financial missteps, undisclosed relationships, and other secrets that Rasheeda had yet to discover. The new revelations shifted the power dynamic, giving Rasheeda even more leverage and leaving Kirk scrambling to maintain any semblance of control. "I can't believe this," Rasheeda said, her voice trembling with fury. "All this time, and you still thought you could get away with it." Kirk's expression faltered, the reality of his situation finally sinking in. As the confrontation reached its peak, Rasheeda alternated between moments of anger, betrayal, and vulnerability. She recounted the deepest wounds Kirk had inflicted, his financial deception, emotional neglect, and demanded answers. Kirk, now visibly shaken, struggled to respond, his voice wavering with guilt and fear. "Sheeda, I never wanted to hurt you. I was trying to protect us. In my own way, he said, desperation creeping in. Rasheeda shook her head, tears threatening to fall. Protect us. You call this protection? Lying, hiding, betraying, that's your version of protection. Then came a twist no one expected. Kirk's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown contact, revealing new layers of secrets and hidden motives. Rasheeda seized the device, reading the content aloud. Shock and disbelief registered on her face, her voice barely above a whisper. So this is it. More lies. More hiding. Kirk remained silent, unable to defend himself further. The cameras captured every micro-expression, every flicker of guilt, every moment of shame that flickered across his face. Family members joined remotely through video calls, contributing to the chaos. Some defended Kirk, some supported Rasheeda, and some offered objective commentary. Though even the impartial voices were colored by emotion, the situation became a whirlwind of conflicting narratives, deepening the emotional stakes and making reconciliation seem increasingly tenuous. Producers admitted later that the intensity of the room was unlike anything they had ever filmed, a perfect storm of emotion, exposure, and raw human vulnerability. Hours passed. The confrontation had transformed into a marathon of truth-telling, argument, and reluctant negotiation. Rasheeda held firm, demanding accountability for every lie, every betrayal, and every hidden act. Kirk attempted explanations and fleeting admissions, but the weight of public scrutiny and documented evidence made excuses nearly meaningless. The cameras captured the full spectrum: anger, remorse, fear, sadness, and fleeting glimpses of hope, painting a picture so raw that fans would later describe it as both devastating and mesmerizing. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, a tense pause fell over the room. Both were exhausted, physically and emotionally drained, yet neither had fully surrendered. The confrontation had reached a precarious balancer, fragile truce born not out of resolution, but out of sheer exhaustion and the understanding that the next chapter would demand even more from both parties. The stage was set for further revelations, deeper emotional battles, and unexpected alliances that would continue to captivate fans and redefine the narrative of their marriage. As night settled over Atlanta, both Rasheeda and Kirk reflected on the chaos that had consumed the day. Outside, the city moved on, oblivious to the drama unfolding behind closed doors. Inside, however, emotions remained charged, ready to erupt again at any moment. The confrontation had only deepened the stakes, revealing that love, betrayal, and trust were more intertwined and more fragile than either could have imagined. And while the cameras had stopped recording for the night, the story was far from over. Fans, family, and friends would continue to watch, speculate, and debate, eager for the next explosive twist in a saga that had become nothing short of legendary. The room was quiet at first, cameras already rolling, lights low. That kind of silence that tells you something big's about to happen. Kirk was sitting at the far end of the couch, hands clasped, eyes on the floor. Rasheeda walked in calm, collected, not yelling, not shaking, just that kind of calm that's way scarier than anger. She sat across from him, crossed her legs, and said, "So, we doing this?" Kirk looked up slow, already knowing what was coming. For weeks, people had been waiting for this moment. The rumors, the video, the mystery woman, all of it had built up to this one conversation. And Rasheeda wasn't here for half answers or excuses. She wanted clarity, not confusion. Kirk took a deep breath like he was trying to find the right words, but Rasheeda cut him off before he could start. "Don't try to make this about business, Kirk. I've heard that speech before." The crew stayed silent, just letting it unfold. You could hear the clock ticking in the background. Kirk said softly, "It wasn't like that. She's a part of a deal I've been working on." Rasheeda tilted her head, gave that look, the one that says she's not buying a word of it. "You always working on something when it's convenient," she said, her tone sharp but steady. "But somehow, your work always looks like disrespect." Kirk leaned forward, trying to explain, trying to keep his voice calm. "I messed up in the past. Yeah, but I'm not that same man anymore." Rasheeda didn't blink, then stopped doing the same things that man used to do. She replied. It was quick, it was raw, it was real. The energy between them was heavy, like two people standing on top of everything they'd built, realizing the foundations cracked again. The cameras zoomed in, not on the shouting, because there wasn't any, but on the silence. That kind of silence that tells a whole story. Kirk said, "You think I'd risk us again after everything?" Rasheeda leaned back, sighed, and said, "I don't know what you'd risk anymore, Kirk. That's the problem." She wasn't crying, but her voice carried years of exhaustion. "Every time I start to trust you again, something happens," she said. "I keep defending you, Even when I shouldn't have to. Kirk rubbed his face, muttering, "You don't even see how hard I'm trying." Rasheeda replied, "You don't even see how much I'm tired." It was like watching two people who loved each other deeply but didn't know how to meet in the middle anymore. No screaming, no breaking things, just honesty and heartbreak. Kirk finally said, "I want us to fix this." Rasheeda nodded slowly, but her eyes said something else. "Wanting and doing are two different things," she whispered. The cameras caught every moment. The way Kirk looked away. The way Rasheeda stayed still. The way the room felt like time had stopped. It wasn't a fight, not really, it was a breaking point. She said, "I'm not here to embarrass you, Kirk. I'm here to remind you that love comes with responsibility." He nodded, silent, like a man realizing the apology wasn't enough this time. She stood up, fixed her hair, and said quietly, "I hope one day you get it, for both our sakes." And just like that, she walked out. No dramatics, no tears, just a woman choosing peace over explanation. The crew stayed frozen, unsure if they should cut. Kirk sat there for a long minute, looking at the door she just walked through. No words left, just regret sitting heavy in the air. And when the cameras finally stopped, it didn't feel like the end of a scene, it felt like the end of a chapter. Outside, Rasheeda got in her car, took a deep breath, and drove off into the Atlanta night. And maybe that's what growth really looks like. Not staying to argue. Not begging to be understood. Just leaving when you've said everything that needs to be said. And while fans online started guessing what would happen next, the truth was, neither of them probably knew. Because sometimes love stories don't end with closure, they just fade into lessons. So the moment that episode aired, social media went wild. Timelines flooded instantly. Clips, reactions, memes, and people saying Rasheeda handled that confrontation like a real one. No yelling, no chaos, just calm power. Fans said it was one of the most grown woman moments they'd ever seen on Love and Hip Hop. Everybody felt that energy of a woman who's been through enough, and finally decided her piece was louder than the argument. Twitter was lit. One fan tweeted, "Rasheeda's silence said more than Kirk's whole speech." Another wrote, "That man's been explaining since season 1, and she still ain't hearing it." And the funniest ones, the memes. Y'all know how fast Black Twitter moves. There were gifs of Rasheeda walking out with captions like "Me leaving any situation that disturbs my peace." People loved that she didn't make a scene, she just ended it with grace. And the conversation wasn't just about the drama. It turned into a whole debate about loyalty, forgiveness, and self. Some viewers said Rasheeda was too calm, like she'd given up emotionally. Others said, that's exactly what healing looks like when you stop arguing and just start choosing yourself. It hit home for a lot of women watching. Meanwhile, Kirk's reaction became another hot topic. Some said he looked genuinely hurt. Others said it was guilt, mixed with confusion. He didn't lash out. He didn't deny, he just sat there, quiet, almost like he finally realized what he'd lost. That image of him sitting on the couch after she left, that went viral too. People captioned it like, "When you realize she's done explaining the same thing for the 10th time." After the episode dropped, the Frost family name was trending again. Not for scandal, but for growth. Rasheeda even posted on Instagram the next morning. A single line, "Sometimes closure comes when you stop waiting for them to understand." No tags, no subtweets, just pure clarity. And her comments were full of love. Fans calling her inspiring, strong, and iconic. Women from everywhere were saying how much that moment meant to them. On Kirk's side, he stayed low-key. No statements, no shade. Just a quiet repost of a quote that said accountability is the first step to change. And honestly, that might have been his smartest move. Because when the internet's talking, sometimes silence says more than a full statement ever could. And you could feel it. That whole scene wasn't about drama anymore. It was about evolution. Love and Hip Hop fans have watched these two for years. Through highs, lows, babies, businesses, betrayals, everything. So to see Rasheeda stand up for herself without exploding, it showed how much she's grown. Not just as a wife or entrepreneur, but as a woman who knows when enough is enough. And that's why fans still ride for her. They've seen her struggle publicly, but they've also seen her bounce back, build empires, and keep her composure through storms that would have broken anybody else. And maybe that's why her scenes hit harder, because behind the glitz and the shade, there's real emotion there. Real love. Real lessons. By the end of the night, every blog had picked it up. The Shade Room, Hollywood Unlocked, Baller Alert, all reposting the clip with captions like "Rasheeda stays unbothered." Fans were in the comments writing "Queen energy. She handled that perfectly." And even "This is the calmest breakup I've ever seen." It turned from gossip to empowerment real quick. And let's be honest, Love and Hip Hop knows how to deliver a moment But this one felt different. It wasn't messy for ratings. It was mature, real, and full of emotion. No screaming match, no drinks flying, just truth and consequences. It gave fans something to talk about, but it also gave them something to feel. And now, everyone's waiting to see what happens next. Will Kirk fight for the relationship? Will Rasheeda keep her distance and focus on herself? The producers are teasing more, but if this was the tone of the new season, baby, it's about to be one of the realest ones yet. The minute that episode aired, it was like the whole internet clocked in to watch the Frost storyline unfold. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, even TikTok, everybody had an opinion. And you know how fast social media moves. Within an hour, the clips were everywhere. Fans were quoting Rasheeda's lines like gospel, posting screenshots with captions like "This is what growth looks like," and "When calm hits harder than chaos." Some fans said it was refreshing to see a love and hip-hop moment that didn't rely on shouting or glasses flying. Others said it was even more powerful because Rasheeda's silence said everything. It was the kind of energy that makes you stop scrolling for a second, because you can feel that truth in scrolling for a second, because you can feel that truth in setting boundaries, and still chasing the bag. Because that's what the audience connects with now. Messy or not, they just want authenticity. And that's what makes this moment stand out. It wasn't about blame, it was about evolution. The kind of episode that makes fans talk, reflect, and even argue in the comments. But in a way that sparks real conversations about relationships and respect. And for a show that built its name on chaos, that's actually huge growth. Now, everyone's waiting for the next season to see if the same mature energy continues. Fans are hoping to see couples rebuilding, individuals leveling up, and maybe even a few surprises that show what accountability looks like after the cameras stop rolling. Because if this moment proved anything, it's that love and hip-hop is still capable of giving us both the drama and the depth. And that's why viewers keep coming back, not just for the gossip, but for those rare moments that feel too real to script. It's the reminder that love, fame, and mistakes are a messy mix. But when someone handles it with grace, the audience feels it. That's what keeps the culture watching, talking, and growing with every new episode. And that's the kind of episode that reminds everybody why we still tune in after all these years. The emotions, the honesty, the growth, that's the real tea right there. Now I need to know what y'all think, because the comments section been giving SA energy lately, and I'm here for it. Do you think this new chapter means we're seeing a softer, wiser side of love and hip-hop? Or are we just catching a calm before another storm? Because let's be honest, history says anything can happen next week. If you made it this far, you already know what time it is. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. It's free, and it helps the channel grow so I can keep spilling this kind of real talk with y'all every week. And please, turn on those notifications, because the next story I got lined up, baby, it's got receipts, screenshots, and a whole new layer of Atlanta tea you're not ready for. And while you're at it, I want to hear your takes. Was this confrontation the closure they both needed? Do you think it's time for a clean slate or a clean break? Y'all always come with the best theories, and half the time you call the next plot twist before it even airs. So go ahead, drop your predictions in the comments. I'll be reading, liking, and replying like always. You know this channel's a community, not just a tea party. And shout out to everybody who's been riding with me since the early uploads. Y'all keep this energy alive. The channel's growing, the stories are getting deeper, and honestly, I love how we can laugh, debate, and still keep it respectful in the comments. It's like our own little digital living room where we watch love and hip-hop, pause the drama, and talk about what we'd do if we were in their shoes. So yeah, go grab a snack, sip your tea, and get ready for the next upload, because the next story, it's giving messy but motivational, shady but smart. We're diving right back into the Atlanta circle, and you know once the rumors start, they don't stop. I'm bringing you every update, every clapback, and every behind-the-scenes detail the blogs miss. And if you really want to show love, share this video with your group chat or that one friend who never misses an episode. Tell them this the spot where the gossip comes with good vibes. Because over here, we don't just spill tea, we serve it hot, with a little laughter on the side. So yeah, hit that subscribe, stay tuned, and keep your notifications on, because baby, the tea never sleeps, and neither do I, when the streets start talking. See y'all in the next one.